This would-be terrifying werewolf transformation is from the 2010 Benicio del Toro film, The Wolfman. There's only one problem. It sucks.
Terrible things, Lawrence. You've done terrible things.
It's nowhere near as iconic as the transformation sequence in the classic 1941 version of the story, and audiences around the globe agree. Instead of launching a new franchise of Universal monster films, it birthed what, at the time, was considered one of the biggest cinematic financial failures ever. However, now, more than a decade later, is The Wolfman worth a second look? Before the full moon shines too brightly on us, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to Nerdstalgic for more videos just like this. 1941's The Wolfman, starring Lon Chaney Jr. as Larry Talbot, follows an American who returns to his ancestral home in Wales to reconnect with his father. Once arriving there, he must bury his recently deceased brother, and tragically becomes cursed to walk the earth as the titular Wolfman. The film is largely responsible for almost all of contemporary tropes associated with lycanthropy. In March of 2006, Universal announced that Benicio del Toro would take on the role of Larry Talbot and bring the beloved lycanthrope up to contemporary sensibilities. And by February of 2007, a director came on board, Mark Romanek. At the time, he was mostly known for his dark Robin Williams film, 1 Hour Photo. After spending close to a year developing the project, he left over creative differences, and Universal was forced to scramble in order to find a director before the looming March 2008 production start date. After meeting with many directors, Joe Johnston of Rocketeer and Honey, I Shrunk the Kids fame landed the director's chair only 3 weeks before cameras started rolling on the project. The Wolfman started shooting on March 3, 2008. The film was being kept a period piece. Famed makeup effects maestro Rick Baker was going to be creating practical wolf suits for the actors, and the budget was set at a healthy $85 million. What more could longtime Wolfman fans want? Due to an almost non-existent pre-production planning time, filming werewolf transformation sequences would have to be compromised from the start. There just wasn't time to construct the makeups and practical effects needed for the film on such short notice, so Johnston had to make a call. All of the werewolf transformations were produced entirely with CGI.
Doctor!
If there's one thing people going to see a werewolf movie want, it's practical werewolf transformations. So, not starting off on the best foot. This wouldn't be the only creative battle the film would have to rage against. The script, which was a remixing of the original story of the younger Talbot returning home to bury a dead brother, only to be inflicted with a curse that transformed him into a werebeast when the moon was full, was too dark and gritty for Johnston's taste. Therefore, David Self was hired to quickly rewrite sections of the script to give it a more classical monster movie feel.
God help us.
After the film completed principal production in June of 2008, Johnston and crew went to work attempting to finish post-production as quickly as possible, as Universal originally wanted the film to be released November 14th of that same year. However, the execs in charge of the film weren't happy with Johnston's initial cut. They felt the film was too character-based, didn't have enough action, and was too moody. The call was eventually made to push the film back to a 2009 release date, and reshoots were scheduled at the iconic 007 stages in Pinewood Studios. After the reshoots were completed, the film's release would be pushed back multiple times. Universal's confidence in the film was fundamentally shaken. They felt that the reshoots, which had been instituted to attempt to inject more action into the film, hadn't worked. Universal's lack of belief in the project was evidenced further by the drama surrounding the score of the film. Danny Elfman's forlorn classical score is emblematic of what the auteur-composer does. And yet, Universal initially thought the score was the wrong approach for the film. They fired Elfman from the project and brought in Paul Haslinger to write an electronic score for the film. Universal execs wanted to mimic the success of the Underworld series by making The Wolfman feel more modern, even if it was a period piece. This did not go over well. So what did they do? Right before the film went out the door, they restored Elfman's score to its rightful place.
You know, you mustn't listen to them. The villagers, they're backward and foolish.
Following an extremely bland and underwhelming marketing campaign, the film was finally released on February 10th, 2010, almost 2 years after it had finished filming. After reshoots, the film roughly cost $150 million, but it only pulled in $142 million at the box office. It was panned by critics, and audience members seemed annoyed by the choppy editing. The behind-the-scenes drama and Universal executives meddling proved too much for the film, and it was ruined beyond saving. Only there's one final chapter to this story. When The Wolfman was released on DVD and Blu-ray, it came with an unrated director's cut, which includes close to 16 minutes of new footage. While The Wolfman's theatrical cut might have been quite dead on arrival, the unrated director's cut of the film features a more drawn-out and ghostly tone. It features multiple scenes that help build tension and ambience, and also boasts a scene completely excised from the theatrical version that showcases Max von Sydow as an aging werewolf who gifts Lawrence Talbot his iconic silver wolf cane.
That's beautiful. It will give me great pleasure to know that it was in the keeping of a civilized man.
With the addition of these new and alternate features, the director's cut makes some of the best scenes in the original cut work even better. Specifically, the scene where John Talbot discovers Lawrence in a basement antechamber where he's constructed a shrine to his departed wife. The menace and spectral grief that Anthony Hopkins displays in this scene is the kind of shocking visual that only the man who gave us Hannibal Lecter could bring to life. The fact that this scene isn't appreciated more by the wider horror fanbase is surprising. Hopkins leaning in and whispering,
Look to my eyes, Lawrence. You see, I am quite dead.
is as haunting as it is memorable. Furthermore, the inclusion of the world-building scene with Max von Sydow pushes the film to feel like it has greater depth and complexity to it. In the existing climax, when Hugo Weaving's Inspector Aberline is bitten and becomes the presumptive Wolfman in the assumed sequel, we know that he'll be going up against von Sydow's unnamed antagonist in an attempt to free himself of the curse. In the theatrical cut, the cliffhanger is just that. Cheap sequel bait that feels tacked on to the finale of the film.
You see her, Lawrence? You feel her presence, her power? She'll be here soon.
The unrated director's cut feels like it earns its highs and lows with its more deliberate and emotional pacing. The film's references to Hammer Horror's classic Curse of the Werewolf and Universal's own Werewolf of London give the sensation of being more incorporated and fleshed out. The film's violence and gothic atmosphere are exactly what the fan base has been asking for close to 2 decades. The eventual theatrical release's failure has many contributing factors. The Wolfman's trailer heavily emphasizes the werewolf transformations, which, as we previously discussed, were not prepared enough to have practical effects. These CGI elements just didn't put the best foot forward for the finished film. However, when evaluated within the completed picture, it paints a stark portrait. The film is filled with murky shadows, silhouettes, and delightfully baroque staging. The theatrical cut of The Wolfman failed at the box office, there's no question of that. The director's cut, though, it deserves to be reappraised and reevaluated. And well, that's all we have for this episode. What do you think? Should Universal give The Wolfman another go? Let us know in the comments below, and as always, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more videos just like this.